right, so we're live with episode 9 of season 2 of Just the Guitar podcast. So tonight we have Robert Consulmagno on. So Robert, first of all, thank you very much for coming on tonight.
Nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. So just to go through our regular podcast members, for once we have actually everybody on tonight, so it's a nice little treat. We have Ahmed Shirani.
Hello.
We have Jordan Short.
Hello.
We have Rami Chirani.
Hey guys.
And we have myself, Adam Cousins. So for those who don't know Robert, he's a purple belt under Emily Kwok. He's got quite a list of accomplishments. We'll just go through the 2014 ones. BJJ Pro silver medalist, World's No-Gi silver medalist in his weight class, bronze in the open weight at World's No-Gi, won Pan Ams this year, won Boston Open, won New York Summer Open and the Spring Open. So, quite accomplished there, Robert. And you hear a lot of stories about people, saying, BJJ saved my life, but
Right.
we heard about Robert's story, and we had to reach out to him because you've got a really awesome story. So, Robert, maybe you can start talking to us a little bit about how you got into jiu-jitsu.
Well, basically how I got into it, my mom passed. She had cancer. And, going to the wake wasn't a happy experience because me and my siblings aren't tight because I've always been the black sheep in the family, speaking up kind of thing. So I came home. I was renting a room at the time. It was, it's when I was 100% disabled. I was just kind of the guy bouncing around different states. I lived in Vegas, Arizona, Minnesota, Chicago twice, Florida. I was bouncing around prior to that before my mom passing. So I always just rent a room out in Jersey. After she died, I said, you know what, I'm out of here. I went down to Florida trying to look for, I guess you can say, a better life, thinking it would be better because it was fall season, and I just wanted to be around sun and nobody, just a new place. And I would have to say maybe after being in Florida for about 2 months, I was in the gym, and then I just had an outbreak where I checked myself in the ER. And they recommended I stay a couple of days, and I stood in the ward. And, that was an eye-opening experience because there's some seriously, for what I have PTSD, there's guys in there that have even more. Like my father was schizophrenic, so I'm sure that there was people in there who have that kind of mental illness and stuff. So I was in there for about 2 to 3 days. I got out, and I guess you could say I just was like, you know what? I got to find something. I'm training so hard for what? It was more or less subconsciously trying to release endorphins because of the feeling that you get working out. And I just decided to take a jiu-jitsu class, and it was great. And I competed 8 times as a white belt to get my blue belt in the Pay to Pano, and here we are now. So it was definitely an experience. And when I say jiu-jitsu saved my life, it was the being a part of something. Going to class, maybe it's like part of the military, feeling like you belong because there's camaraderie, training hard and actually getting recognized. And I wanted to be, or should I say, I still want to be that rarity. When I get my black belt, I want to throw myself to the dogs, compete all the way through, even when I get my black belt, and be that person like Peter Pano got his black belt in under 6 years. I'm not going to wait 10 years to get my black belt. So I guess you could say what jiu-jitsu does for me is it, when I have manic moments or I have that mindset like I can run through a brick wall, I go to class and I get my butt kicked. And it just helps, man. It really does help. Sometimes half the battle is getting to class, especially with the weather now and the sun going down at 5:30 p.m. It's just tough. But once I get on those mats, I feel alive. And competing only amplifies that big time.
So did you say that a big part of it also is the camaraderie that you have? Like, is that because of your experience in the military? Can you give us a bit more background on that?
You know what? People, I'm a Marine and will always be a Marine. There's people who've been in other branches and they kind of forget. Marine Corps boot camp and just being in the Marine Corps for 5 years, to me, you just don't get that camaraderie unless you're like a Navy SEAL or something like that, Special Forces. The Marine Corps, there's such a bond that you get with these guys. I mean, these Marines, you're in a foxhole with them. You live, breathe, sleep with them three dudes in a, you know, three men in a little room. So yeah, it parlays, and I think that work ethic that I got from the Marine Corps transitions into my jiu-jitsu.
So why?
So, oh,
I
sorry.
was just gonna ask why jujitsu? Like what was it about jujitsu that made you think, yeah, I'm gonna try a jujitsu class based on where you were in your life and the things that you had experienced and the issues that you were having?
I've always liked and I've always been fond of martial art. Bruce Lee is my idol. He never fought, never competed, but I live vicariously, I guess you could say, through his movies. Here's a guy who came in on a boat and within 4 years became an icon. And I love his art, Jeet Kune Do, JKD. A lot of people don't really practice it or study it because it's kind of like a dying dinosaur. But I was always around boxing. And, since I was a kid, where I grew up in Jersey, with my great-grandfather being who he is and being around boxing, I've always just liked hitting targets. I don't know if it just comes from seeing the abuse in my life, but I find that I'm fighting to not fight. And Bruce Lee says, it's the art of fighting without fighting. What I like about jiu-jitsu, because I always worked on my striking for years, I find that it was going to make me a well-rounded martial artist in person. And I love UFC. Not that I mean, I guess you could say my dream was always to try to get into something like that, but I'm too old. But the beauty is, cross-training jiu-jitsu, to me, just makes me a well-balanced martial artist. I got good hands, and I can handle myself if somebody grabs me. And jiu-jitsu works. I mean, it works. It does. And it's very taxing. It's tough, and that's why I like it.
So,
Robert, are you? Sorry, Adam.
No, go ahead.
Adam, you mind if I? Oh, okay, sorry. Robert, you mentioned you had a tough upbringing. Is that something you're willing to go into with us, just so we can get like a full picture?
Yeah, it's just a matter of what timetable you want to start at. Because all I have is I have a pretty good memory. I actually can remember back to being in my crib. I swear to God, I can remember being in the crib, seeing my father. So, however you want to start, as far as my early childhood, that kind of thing. I mean, I can tell you whatever you want.
Well, you know what? I've read up on you, and you mentioned that you had some anger issues, which you were hoping the military would help straighten out for you. And
right.
So how about you take us up to from that point, the issues with anger and maybe whatever frustrations you had. Into the military, the PTSD, and then finally coming home.
As a kid, seeing your mom get beat for 13 years, myself being physically abused, my brother. I was thrown down a flight of stairs and placed in a body cast. My good friend John, who's a former boxer, when I came out my store, he actually called me and said, he babysat me and fed me when I was in that, and I had no idea. All I remember was walking up the stairs and it going black. I remember having a broken arm, and I remember DIFUS. I don't know if you know what DIFUS is, but basically it's within the state. They would come check, and they would cover. Oh, he fell down the stairs, or he did this, or he did that. I just grew up in a very violent household and family. I don't know if it's just a product of the area where I grew up. But I've seen my stepfather. He beat my mom religiously. Me, my brother. The guy would drop just drop like that, like flip a switch. I seen him beat his mother once. He threw a TV stand at her. I remember one time riding to the Jet game, a football game. Some guy cut him off. Me and my brother in the car. He's chasing this guy. And he threw a gallon of milk into the guy's window. The guy had a Fiat and tried to run him off the road. I remember one time sitting on a stoop, dead of summer, because stoop is the porch. I remember some guy parking in our driveway, and my stepfather goes, yeah, you see the friggin' sign, or excuse me, the fucking sign, it says no parking. Guy, of course, goes, fuck you. Father runs in the backyard, grabs his shovel, and beat him to a pulp with a shovel. Cops didn't do nothing. I remember, when I got to about 10 years old, this is a little bit older, I remember when my mom started having, or should I say she grew enough to leave, where she said, you know what, I got to get out of this situation. Holding a gun in my hand and him telling me he's going to shoot him. My new stepfather, who my mother was with for about 20 years until she passed. So she was with 3 men. my original father, who was schizophrenic, she was only with him for about a year or two, left him for this guy. This guy she was with for 13 years, Italian guy, worked at a lumber yard. He was probably about 6'5", 280 pounds. He was just a big, scary guy, and people were afraid of him. You know, I don't know if you've seen some of the Italian movies, but I remember as a kid going to the bakery and going to the head of the line, and people, you know, the guy telling me, hey, tell your father I took care of you. I don't know. I mean, like, where I grew up, it was just like, you know, kind of like Goodfellas, if you know what I mean. And nobody messed with him. And when it, you know, when it came to what went on in the house, people were afraid to speak up. So I remember vividly one night we're sleeping. It's dead of winter. My mother wakes me up, me and my brother and my sister. We're in our pajamas. We literally run out of the house in our pajamas in a van that's in neutral with the engine off. It's my new stepfather, who, like I said, she was with for about 20 years. And it was this guy, and they got the van to move out slow enough, you know, where it wouldn't make any noise because he was sleeping in the car. Okay? We took off to upstate New York and hid out in a trailer park up in past, it was Newburgh, New York. We were up there for about 2 or 3 months. My mother, we were out of school. The schools were looking for us and everything. And maybe about a week later, after him searching for us, because he went nuts. Like, literally, he kicked the door down, broke into the apartment, tore the place apart, and went nuts. So somehow he found out where my new stepfather worked, showed up, pulled up in his car, pulled the window down. He saw him. As he saw him, my other stepfather, you know, he turned, started running. He tripped. The bullet grazed the top of his head. So he shot him, took off, drove to Moonachie, New Jersey, and blew his brains out because he thought he killed him. Okay, because he didn't want to go to jail. I think he figured, well, you know, she's not going to have him, he's not going to have her. So he, you know, little did he know that he survived. So that's when I was young, and then I when I was in maybe about 12, you know, being with the new guy, my mother, she just turned into this. I don't know if she'd started developing mental issues too, from all the stress. So like literally I was like fending for myself. I had a paper out. She never cooked. You know, I remember sleeping in the back of my stepfather's car trying to get to school. And my whole goal, my whole dream was to become a United States Marine, to get out of the street, to get out, to get away from all that. I went in the Marine Corps, and I did well the first year or two. And then all of a sudden, I just started getting in trouble a lot with Marines, you know, like fighting, problems with authority, you know, that kind of thing. And the Marine Corps, believe it or not, epitomizes, you know, or should I say they love physical kind of guys. Like I was that guy, like I was a perfect PFT, which means physical fitness test. I was the Iron Man in my battalion. I was never late. I was always on time, but they labeled me as a smart ass, yada, yada, yada. And I was on shit details a lot and getting hazed a lot and fighting. And for 5 years that went on, I was being threatened. I was going to get kicked out for causing trouble, court-martial, I'm going to get a bad conduct discharge, this and that. And then I'd say I did a 5-year contract. The reason why I did 5 is because I got $5,000 to do an extra year. It was called QEP program. So after about the 4th year, I started to get it. I said, you know what, I'm tired of this. And I actually got meritorious promoted. I got a Navy Achievement Medal, 2 meritorious mass, letter of commendation. I was a rifle expert, went to MSG school. I killed it. But the thing was that all that added trauma, or you might say that hazing that went on, and I'm not going to go any more in length about the Marine Corps because I love the Marine Corps, but unfortunately they had no idea. The Marine Corps just likes warriors, and I was a warrior, and they just said, you know what, have them go out and dig a hole 8 by 8. You know, and I was out in the ditch all day doing that kind of stuff. And I'd be that guy like, fuck, motherfucker, fuck this shit, you know. And I got out of the Marine Corps and went to college. I did very well in college. And I started working for about 10 years, and I was in sales. And I was selling stuff that I enjoyed, high-end electronics. And I did very well with them. I made a lot of money. I didn't finish college, but I did well. I made very good money. And they fired me 3 times and hired me back because they dealt with my antics. Because some of the guys that I worked with were prior Marines and Army. But I was always on time. I was a worker. I just had, no one could figure me out. And I remember one time jumping over the counter to get to my boss. I wanted to punch him in the face. He said, Cosmo, go home. And I went, fuck you. Went home. Next day, came in, sold, did well. We forgot about it. So they were like, man, that's how I got the term Crazy Cosmo. So, so then after that, then I guess you could say, oh, did I lose you? Oh,
No,
after that, no, I saw something go blank there. Everything after that was after that company went bankrupt. I couldn't make the same kind of money, so then I drove out to Vegas and just took off. And then my DAV rep, which stands for Disabled American Veterans, he calls me, Cosmo, where the hell are you at? I'm like, I'm in Vegas. He's like, dude, you're fucking bipolar. And this PTSD, I said, I'm doing fine. I stood out there for 6 months. I get a phone call, and they're like, you're 100% disabled. Because I had a claim in years ago, and it finally went through, and they said, you can't work. And here I am now. Since that time span, after '07, when I went there, I trained everywhere. I went to Chicago and trained at jab boxing with all the pros. You name it, I did it. Went to Minnesota to Greg Jackson. I mean, not Greg Jackson. What's his face? He's with Eric Paulson. I was there for only a couple of weeks. He's a Muay Thai guy. But I felt like once that happened, I felt like now I'm free. Now I'm going to try to do something. And then my mom, God rest her soul, she died, and that's when I just went off in the deep end, and then went down to Florida and actually got hospitalized. But after getting out of that, that's when I really went into the jiu-jitsu, and now I'm looking back. I'm good at it. I love it. But I also like cross training too, and like I said, just being balanced. And without the training, I don't know where I'd be,
So, yeah, I mean, that's an incredible story for one, Robert. But just a question again about jiu-jitsu, because I reading the articles, on your kind of your background or your family's backgrounds in boxing, right? So why jiu-jitsu? Why not boxing? I know your great grandfather was a high level boxer. So
I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little bit.
sorry. Reading the articles, it said about that your great grandfather was a high level boxer. So
Yes.
again, it just why not boxing, or did boxing not fill the gap that jiu-jitsu has filled for you?
No, here's the thing. I would love to box, but the thing is, I would love to box, but the thing is, boxing doesn't have the level of tournaments and the amount of tournaments, especially in my age bracket. USA Boxing will not allow a 42-year-old man to box an 18 to 20-year-old. It doesn't happen. You can get killed. Blood test, CAT scan, you got to get all that kind of stuff done. I thought about doing a ringside amateur masters program, but to me, the jiu-jitsu, just too much. It's an abundance of tournaments. And one, I'm not sustaining trauma to the head. I don't know if my doctor would want me to try to compete a lot in boxing, knowing that I'm sustaining blows to the head. Because you can actually, I don't know if it can make worse. I don't have a traumatic brain injury, but I don't think they would really allow me. It was a push for me to get them to approve me to do jiu-jitsu, because she says I'm still fighting, in essence. But that's why I go to counseling quite a bit, because she monitors it, and she's allowing me to do this. So I can do it, but the thing is, there's not many tournaments. There's like one a year, and most of the time you have to try to find an opponent in a different state who's willing to do it, and you have to go through all this protocol in order for it to happen. If I would have got involved 10, 15 years ago, different story. I probably would have went pro in boxing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go back a bit. I had a question. What was it that led you to joining the military? Like, I have a brother who's actually in the Canadian military, and it was always sort of like his dream. That's what he wanted to do. He was like a born soldier. As a kid, he was always playing that kind of thing. Right. And then, like, when he was finished college and that, he was like, I'm going to join the military. And now he's a career military guy. And he's sort of going through some of the same things now too. And because he's an Afghan war vet as well.
Wow.
And he's going through some PTSD.
Yep.
issues as well. And I was just sort of wondering what exactly led you to that sort of career path.
I grew up as a kid playing sports. I was very competitive. Um, I just wanted to earn the title of wearing those dress blues. Marines wear dress blues. My uncle was a Marine, and he was like my father figure. He was the brother of my father who died and was there for me. He would come home from Quantico, Virginia, from North Carolina, from Okinawa. He would come out of his way, and I remember him showing up in his dress blues, and I'm like, I want to be a Marine. They're the few, the proud. Not many people make it through their boot camp. It's changed a lot now. Not trying to knock, what's going on, but it's changed a little bit. But when I went through, it's just a feeling of pride, feeling like the camaraderie, being part of a group, and that gave me what I missed in my life, because as a child, going through what I went through, I would always be, I had friends and stuff, and I'd play, but I was a daydreamer. I remember daydreaming, looking out homeroom, looking out in high school, staring at the New York skyline, going, I want to travel the world. I want to do stuff. I want to get the hell out of here. I want to do something with my life. And the Marine Corps was the easiest way. You sign up, you're in boot camp in a different state, and then you can be shipped overseas. And the honor of being able to fight. I'm the kind of guy that if I had to die for my country, I would die for my country. That's me. That's how I roll. I guess that's it. Just to earn a title.
Oh man, no, that's good. If I may ask, and this is kind of maybe a stupid question. I know what PTSD. I know what PTSD is, but I don't really. I'd like to hear it from your perspective. Like, well, what exactly? If you don't mind, answering that.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. PTSD would be hypervigilant, avoiding certain situations, certain people. I'll give you an example. I have cable, internet. I don't watch TV because the box I have, this is the way my mindset is. When the box goes on, the channel that's defaulted by the cable company is the news channel, which is killings and shootings and maimings, and it brings back memories of what I was exposed to. So when I put my TV on, I put on Netflix or I put on Blu-rays, and all the movies that I have are movies that brought happiness to my life. I don't have any sort of movie or watch anything that brings back any negative thoughts or having me want to steer away from that situation. Do you understand what I mean? Like right now I'm watching like Bruce Lee stuff. How do you get upset watching Bruce Lee? It doesn't trigger anything for me. We call it triggers. A trigger could be, if somebody does something or tries to harm me, it brings back, like what happened to me as a child or what happened to me in the Marine Corps. You understand? So that's my definition of it, as being hypervigilant, not trusting people, and just trying to stay away from any particular situation that you were exposed to.
Okay. No, that. Sorry, I always thought it was like a crazy event in the military or something that happened that you always think of or something.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to give you an example. In the Marine Corps, a lot of guys who get PTSD can get it from a traumatic event, that kind of thing. My traumatic events happen almost twice a week for years. I gave you an example. I'm reading Rosie Perez. You know Rosie Perez, the actor?
Yeah.
She has PTSD. She has PTSD, and I'm reading her book, and some of the stuff that I'm reading about kind of coincides with my upbringing. And she just wrote a book about it. But society in general thinks PTSD is only for combat veterans. It's not. It could be a rape victim. It could be anything. And, like I said, I've seen a lot of stuff, man, and it affected my life and my train of thought and my reactions. And you can even ask Emily. Emily thought at one point, she's just like, she goes, 1 minute you're like good, and the next minute, bam, you want to rip somebody's head off. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And I had to talk with her, my professor. I said, listen, if it gets to the point where you can't handle me, then I'll walk away from the sport. Because I don't need to, but if you don't hear from me on that training, I could be having a moment. So they don't, like they push me, but they know not to push me in certain ways now, which is good. Because I like pushing my body and pushing myself, but there's moments that, Cosmo is not Superman. I need a moment for myself. But Since we're on this podcast, whatever, I might as well I don't know if I told you in the email that I was going to unleash with Fox News. I might as well just talk about it. I'm not only PTSD, I have bipolar, manic bipolar disorder. Okay, so I'm in denial about that for a while, and my doctor told me I need to come out with it because since I've come out with all this, I might as well talk about this. So I have post-traumatic stress disorder and bipolar, and I was on medication for that. I was on Depakote, clonazepam, all that. So that's why I go to a lot of counseling and monitoring, because in essence I have two things that I'm juggling. It's not just PTSD. And I have the paperwork. I already showed Ian from Fox News. I said, look, man, you know, I want to come out with this because the reason why I didn't come out with an ABC on the ABC and the newspapers first is because I wanted to see how I can handle it, because I have a fear of people labeling me and maybe calling me weak. But you know what? I'm not gonna worry about that no more because I've gotten this far. I might as well just let it all out.
Do you feel like now that you know you're getting treatment for your for bipolar? Do you feel like it's more under control, or do you like still experience those like highs and lows?
I feel highs and lows, but the beauty is by going to these counselings quite a bit, it helps, man. And Jiu-Jitsu helps. Is if I'm not on the mat, if I let 3 days go by without being on the mat, I might have a manic episode, or I might be like, you know, like when I get on the mat and I train hard, I come home, I'm at peace because I'm so exhausted. But the PTSD, I mean, that parlays in too. I could be walking somewhere and something can trigger me. Boom. So it's a combination. And I'm not going to take medication. I'm just not. My father was on medication, and it made him worse. It causes suicidal ideation. And I don't have thoughts like that. I'm up and down. You know, she says I'm not more depressed, I'm more manic.
So what? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So what is it? Do you find with training then? Does that ever? Or is there any ever time where you're actually sparring with somebody in jiu-jitsu and you just there's like a switch and you're just like you almost want to attack this person? Or do you ever get that kind of feeling, or does jiu-jitsu kind of help level that out?
Jiu-jitsu helps. I have never been in a role where I want to say I want to hurt this person. Or like I want to, you know, I'm gonna bow an arrow on to death and put him to sleep. It's not like that. Believe it or not, I actually play a lot of defense, and I enjoy sometimes people beating on me because, like, you know, like I'll give an example. I was rolling hard with one of our blue belts, Josh, great kid, and I know he likes to bring the heat, and I just rise my level to him, and I pass his guard, and I do certain things, and I just stop. You know, and I just smile, and he goes, nice, nice. And I'm like, good job. But he kicked me in the face, and I had a black and blue going across my face. And he's like, you're all right, man. I said, I'm fine, bro. Let's go. We're good. So I have, like I said, I've never been in a role where I had malicious intent. It's just, I don't like to fight. That's the thing. I've seen too much of it, you know?
So how about, like, did you ever do any, like, boxing sparring or any sort of...
Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell you a great story. A really good story. So I'm on a date last September, the undercard. I'm sitting there with this girl, and I'm like, that dude looks familiar. She's like, why does he look familiar? I'm like, I sparred that guy at Jam Boxing in Chicago. She's like, get the hell out of here. I said, dude, I sparred him. His name's Carlos. He won the belt. I sparred this guy maybe for 3-4 months. I wasn't a punching bag. I could hang, but he never knocked me out, never put me to the mat. Took me about 6 months for this guy to pound me on the gloves because boxers, man, let me tell you, boxers, when you're sparring, it's not like jiu-jitsu. You can flow roll. You're getting hit, and then it escalates. And by the time I left that gym, I was known. They made a joke. They said, oh, it's the ninja assassin. They used to call me the ninja assassin. It was awesome. And I sparred him. Then there's this other guy. He was a heavyweight. So I get done with him, and I take my mouthpiece out, and I go, man, that dude's good. And then this dude who's with him, he goes, he better be. He's a fucking pro. I went, oh, he was a heavyweight. I'm sparring a heavyweight. It was great. But if they would have told me that before I got in there, I would have never sparred him. I've been there. I just, this journey, not only jiu-jitsu, but to lead me up to jiu-jitsu, going to these boxing gyms, being around Randy, meeting all these other pros. I feel like this is what I was born to do now. Like, this is my time. I went through all this stuff for a reason. Now I have an opportunity to maybe infect the world or show the world that jiu-jitsu and martial art in general can really save your life. But you got to have the intestinal fortitude and stay focused. You can do it. But I'm going to take that to the grave because I sparred him. I swear my father's great. I sparred that dude, and I hung with a professional fighter who's wearing a belt. That's awesome.
That is awesome. It's funny because you mentioned how, jiu-jitsu, keeps you level and things like that. And, certainly, in my life, I haven't experienced nearly the things that you've experienced. But, even for me, and I think it's true for a lot of people that do jiu-jitsu, and people don't, the general public generally doesn't understand that, because they think it's a combat sport, right? But you're like, when I tell people that, jiu-jitsu is what keeps me calm in my day-to-day life, right? And people have a hard time understanding that, but you miss a couple days off the mats. Even for me, I miss a couple days off the mats, and I don't feel right. I feel anxious, and you're more irritable and things like that. So I can appreciate, from your perspective, how you're saying jiu-jitsu keeps you on the level, right? It keeps you from having those episodes because you leave it all on the mats, right?
Yes, sir. And imagine what you feel, and I agree because you know what? We're both human. Just because I went through certain things that you didn't go through doesn't mean that you can't still feel what I feel when it comes to doing jiu-jitsu, because if you love it. But I just love sports and the competitive arts, or martial arts in general. Without it, I don't think I could survive, man. Like I said, I'm sick right now. I just got over. I haven't rolled. I did 2 doubles in a row, Tuesday and Wednesday, and I missed the advanced class on Thursday. So I haven't rolled since Thursday, and I'm like, but I'm not gonna get my teammates sick, and like you said, man, if I gave up jiu-jitsu, I don't know where I'd go, man, because there's nothing else there that I can really do that can probably fill that void. If I went to a boxing gym, I'd be by myself hitting a bag. I'm too old, to do anything with that. With jiu-jitsu, at least I can do till 90 and maybe still do Masters 6 and try to compete and earn a medal and feel like I'm doing something, I'm setting the bar, and I'm going to help change or help coax the general public and to get it on the mats. Like you said, they look at it and go, oh, it's just a combat sport. Why do you want to just do all that? And you have no idea, man. You have no idea. And especially when you get really good at it. I mean, when I have some of these, you know how it is. When you roll with somebody, me and my friend got done once, and literally it was like two meteors bouncing off each other, like 2 magnets, and we both were like, wow, that was an amazing roll. You know what I'm talking about? We were doing stuff. He was like, he said to me, he goes, man, I wish we had a camera. I'm like, yo, do you see that butterfly guard sweep to that? I was like, what was that? He was just like, I don't know, but that was awesome. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about, man.
That's something that nobody completely understands unless they get into it.
Because when you compete, listen, I hate to say old man strength, but when I compete, I want to open up. Emily's yelling at me all the time. Bro, Cosmo, you got to open up. You got to open up. I'm like, I'm trying. This guy does not want to move. His base is just ridiculous. He does not want to move. But when I roll with the females and when I roll with the young guys, it's just like, shh, like a cat. And I love it. And the fitness that you get from it also.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. Hey, can I ask a question? Just going back a little bit. In the military, you were saying you were getting a little bit of trouble because of you
I was getting in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. A lot. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah. I was a pain. I hate to use the term. I was a pain in the ass, but I was not that I want to, but I was walking on eggshells because I probably had some of it there. Okay, and. Yeah. This is in the 90s, man. No one knew what bipolar was probably in the 90s or PTSD. That was Vietnam stuff. I probably shouldn't have gotten past MEPS, which stands for Military Entrance Processing Station. I probably shouldn't have got past that. But go ahead. I interjected on you real quick there. Whatever.
Oh, no, that's okay. So you did a lot of trouble. You were in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, a lot of trouble. I mean, I'll give an example. I was written up, and what's called is you get in your SRB, which stands for Service Record Book. I had page 11s like crazy. A page 11 is basically entry saying you're going to be written up to be court-martialed. I probably went through 3 court-martial setups, but it was a setup to where they were going to drop the charges. So basically, I had all this. I'm in my Bravos thinking I'm going to get kicked out. I'm going to get discharged. But the whole time, they weren't trying to do that. They were just trying to scare me into changing. But little did they know, it made it worse because every day I'm like, oh, I'm going to get kicked out if I screw up. If I do this, I do that. So yeah, I mean, I was in trouble a lot.
Yeah. So you know where I was going with this is like, so you got in trouble a lot, right? But you mentioned one of the reasons was problem with authority, right? Now, in martial arts, there is a hierarchy, there is authority there, and so how did you transition to that? Like, you know, you got your instructor, your professor, and even like, you know, the brown belts, the black belts, you have to, you know, there is that level of respect. How'd you, you know?
I would have to say,
yeah.
Listen, in Jiu-Jitsu, if you're a black belt, especially under Marcelo Garcia, like, you're an animal, you know, and maybe it's the Marine mentality. I'm like, this person's a black belt, and they're badass. Excuse my, you know, my French, but I guess because like where I grew up, it's like if you can kick the shit out of me, I have the utmost respect. Not that I would treat somebody who can't, you know, that I can control with disrespect, but I don't know, maybe because I enjoy what I do so much too, and I know how hard it is to do, and I want to earn my black belt the right way, and I want to be legit, and I have respect for the art because to get your black belt in this association and competing the way I do, you know, when I die, I'm going to be labeled as a legit black belt. Like, and it's a tough sport. It is. The Marine Corps, I mean, I had respect. It's just that I just did things outside my own where I got in trouble, and then I like found out about what I did, and then I got written up. It wasn't like I just went up to somebody and punched him or disrespected him. I was doing things outside, you know, of off base and doing things like that, which led me and got me in trouble. But I never really had a problem with authority. It was just things that I was doing, the antics that I was doing, you know, my behavioral patterns, I guess you could say, that kind of thing.
Okay.
You mentioned that like something like getting attacked would be a big trigger for you. What is it about Jiu-Jitsu that you find like, you know, you said you play a lot of offenses or defense as well too. So what is it about Jiu-Jitsu that you don't find the same as being attacked?
Man, it's because I know that, like, here's the thing. If I trust you, it probably took me about 4 or 5 months to really trust the people that I roll with, and I never told anybody. But you know, when I rolled with higher belts, I'll give you an example. I remember Marcio used to telling me, and I'm going to do his Brazilian accent because it's funny. He's like, "You respect the belts too much. Is good, but not good because you afraid to." I'm like, I just don't want to like press this guy and think I'm trying to hurt him, you know, and trying to use all their strength. And like sometimes I would literally go into rolls accepting to get defeated or beat. And then finally I started trusting people. Like, all right, this guy's not going to hurt me, because like I would look at that belt and go, oh man, this guy's going to fly an armbar on me or whatever. I see one of those YouTube videos. You know, you're a white belt, you don't know. Once I got my blue belt, then I started realizing, I'm like, all right, you know, they're not going to try to hurt me, you know, especially people that I train with a lot. Now being a purple belt, I definitely don't see that, because when I roll with people now, I literally will let them try to like kill me and use all, you know, do whatever, and I just play more. I mean, I could turn that heat up when I want to, but I really try not to do that, because jiu-jitsu, what is jiu-jitsu supposed to be? It's supposed to be the gentle art in certain ways, right? So, you know, I try to be as gentle as I can, and golf, you know, sometimes if I make a mistake and I hit somebody a mistake, you know, like in a pass or something, first thing I do is go, oh, I'm so sorry, and they're like, no, we're fine, you know. But it's weird, man. It's weird. You would think that I wouldn't want to be doing this art because of all of what I went through, but I'm learning how to trust people. Now, if it's a stranger, I won't visit. Here's the thing: I don't visit other schools. I've done that before. I don't do it. I've been invited multiple times to visit other schools. I visited one school once, and I literally was just like rolling 20% and just purposely went in there because I just don't know people. Don't, you know, they see a purple belt and they're like, hey, you want to roll? I'm like, I don't know this guy. This guy could be the ADC world champion, you know. So, and I try to put a positive spin, but I think it stems back from my childhood. And I'm like, you know, I don't know this person. I don't want to get hurt. And jiu-jitsu, maybe as I progress through my belts, then I can start trusting everybody. But I have yet to visit another school in about a year because I just don't like doing it. I want to train my training partners because I trust them and I know they won't hurt me.
So is there what's different for you then about competition, because you compete a lot, right? And you're probably competing against people that you don't know, right?
Right. Now that honestly, I don't know if it's just that I like the fact of competing, and maybe I'm attacking a fear because I know that I'm going to be dealing with somebody I don't know, and he's coming full force. So I will say this: the competing has made me a better jiu-jitsu practitioner and made me better fast. And there's times when I sign up for tournaments and go, oh man, why did I do this? I'm too old for this. Who competes at 42 years old? I'm like, what am I? I don't need to be doing this. I could just be, you know. But when I get there, you ever see Stallone in Over the Top?
Turn the hat around.
I'm like, boom, boom. Like that's the competing. It all goes. It's weird. When I'm training in school, I guess you think more because you're trying techniques and stuff. But when I go live in a tournament and I see Emily and I see Art, and Art has his way. Art goes one of these things. He gives me that nod, like kill him. So, and I feel like I'm being unleashed, like Jet Li, like, you know, I'm taking off the chain, bing, you know. And I'm not gonna lie, when I win, I think what that does is it solidifies in my mind that I'm somebody. I feel like I'm somebody, you know, because I never finished college. I did good, and I never finished. I mean, I did well in the Marine. I mean, I got out of the Marine Corps honorably, and I did get awards and stuff like that, merits promoted. But I'm not gonna be honest, like, you know, I feel that jiu-jitsu and doing what I'm doing now, even at an older age, I feel like I'm accomplishing something, like I'm going to be somebody. You know, I want to be like my great-grandfather, even though he boxed, which was a different art. You know, if I can try to be a role model. And it does feel good when you compete because you're representing the school. But I've never really thought about or compared, you know, why I don't go to another school and roll as opposed to competition, because competition, it's blown out, but I think it's helping me become more relaxed and more trusting. And when I win, I feel like I'm on top of the world, and it's a great feeling, man.
Hey, Robert, how do you deal with losses in tournaments then? Like, we've all been there, the first round losses, and you go home and it really sucks, you know, and you eat a lot of ice cream. Like,
you know what I do?
How do you deal with that?
I'm the kind of guy that won't forget you. Like, and I don't want to talk bad about the guy that I went up against the Worlds I took second on. But we all know you can stall. And I don't try to. I look at what I did wrong first, because I've lost a match. It was in the adult, in the absolute division. But let's say I lose and it's utterly my mistake. I'll train hard. But a lot of times I find, like, you know what, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Just train harder. But I don't know, man. It's I don't really let it bother me as much. I actually train harder and go, I'm gonna beat this guy. I hope I get him next time. Like, I look at it like, you got lucky. Not that I'm trying to be cocky, but I'm like, I hope I get this guy again in my bracket. You know, I enjoy it. I mean, honestly, it's not. I haven't got to the point where I got home and I'm like, oh my God, I suck. You know, I just go, all right, I took second. What did I do wrong? Let's fix it. But I hope he's there again. And, you know, I'm sure you guys been there. When I won Pan Ams, and the guy that it beat was really good and strong.
No, we've never been there. We've never won Pan Ams. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, indeed. But the guy I beat in Pan Ams, this goes to show you how much mental or the mind parlays into everything you do, like in combat sports and sports in general. So I'm going to BJJ Pro, he's in my bracket again. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be tough. Yeah, I won. I choked him out, but I'm like, he was good. The day we get there, he doesn't show up. I had that happen to me 3 times on different occasions. I had one guy tell me, he goes, man, he goes, I saw you in my bracket. I went down a class. I'm like, come on, dude. I'm like, I'm nobody special. I'm like, come on, let's just have some fun. But, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm going, wow. You know, here I am trying to conquer my fears, and then you got somebody who doesn't have PTSD and bipolar or whatever, and they're like looking at my brackets and Googling me and saying, hey, man, I had a guy come to me and goes, I flew in here from California to compete against you. I beat him, but he came from Cali. I was like, wow, this dude's going to take my head off. But the mind, man, is very powerful. So my goal is to continue to do what I'm doing, try to be positive, try to help people. I mean, I'm still trying to, you know, live my life, but I want to be able to, you know, create a following, but also when I'm get my black belt, I'm not going to be able to compete as much. You know, I'm going to be 40, I'll be probably 45, 46 years old, you know, and I want to might be just step back and let somebody else take over, because there could be Marines or Army personnel, Navy personnel, somebody else out there like me, you know, or even a civilian who's went through a lot of traumatic events. And they might read my story and go, I'm going to try this, or try something else. It doesn't necessarily have to be jiu-jitsu, as much as I want them to do jiu-jitsu, but, you know, I can't force somebody to get on the mats. All I can do is try to inspire. And if it means them getting into a gym, it's better than nothing, because I tell you what, when you're not training at all, you know, having this stuff, I know how I get, and I know I get very manic. I'm up and down, and I can make irrational decisions and do things. And I'm grateful where I'm at, and I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to keep doing it, man.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, but you guys competed before. I mean, but you know, I mean, Pan Am's, it's all great. You know, I've done so many now that I don't really think about it as much, and I try to have fun now. Believe it or not, actually, I have fun now. Like, I remember the first 4 or 5, you know, the whole jitters. Now I'm smiling in the pits. Give an example. I'm at Worlds, and I'm sitting there. I'm looking to my left. Gary Tonin's right next to me, shooting the shit with me, talking, and Keenan Cornelius. I'm hanging out, shooting the shit in the pits with them, and I'm like, all right, man, I gotta go. I'm doing the absolute, and they're like, go kick some ass, man. And that's the beauty too about jiu-jitsu, is that I can meet a high-level practitioner and hang out with him. An NFL superstar doesn't happen. A basketball player, LeBron James, all those guys, I'll never meet them. You know, that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu, is you can train with these high-level people and have a conversation. I just go, man, I just hung out with Keenan Cornelius. This is awesome. This is great, you know? And I think that's what I like about jiu-jitsu too. I mean, the sport's growing, but I can just be in the pits and feel like I'm on the porch with these big dogs, all these pit bulls. You know, I'm not the biggest, baddest dude, but I'm on that porch with them. That's what I love about it. There's Keenan. There's Aljo Galveo hanging out next to me. I'm sitting like, and there's the Mayo brother. I'm sitting there shooting shit with him. I'm like, what's up, dog? He's like, hey, Cosmo, what's up? I read your story. I'm like, you did? I'm like, nice. So, as you can tell, I have a happy side too, but that's what I like about jiu-jitsu, is when I go to these tournaments and people seeing me and placing my face, you know, going, hey, what's up? And I'm like, what's up? Renzo Gracie, awesome dude. I got pictures of him, me and him, giving him a noogie on his head.
Dude.
That's awesome.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, bro. That's the beauty. Like, I got pictures. He came up to me. I'm like, what's up, Professor? And he's like, he grabs me, he goes, come here. And then, what's his face? What's his name? Who's he fought George St. Pierre when he beat him. Matt Sarah. Matt Sarah is short and stout. I see him every year at Pan Am's, and I go, what's up, Professor? He goes, what's up, man? You won again? I go, yeah. Can I take a picture? He goes, let's pummel for it. Get the underhooks. So we're messing around, we're pummeling as a joke, and I got pictures of that. That's cool, man. Like, that's what I like too, is like, I feel like I can be around role models. Like, to me, I mean, these guys are icons in the art, and they're paving the way for new jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. And here's this 42-year-old guy in the pits with them. That's awesome. That's what I like too.
No doubt. Jeez,
Very cool.
that's awesome, man. Inspiring, man. That's crazy.
Think about it. Think about it. Put yourself in that shoes for a split second. Imagine you're at a tournament and Keenan Cornelius comes over, or Gary Tony's just shooting the shit, and you're just talking about funny stuff and it's non-jiu-jitsu related things, and you're ready to go fight some 220-pound dude in the absolute. And I'm like, I got to be nuts doing this. But you know what? This is well worth it. It's fun.
That's awesome.
So what's the next step for you? Is it just keep training, get your black belt, and then where do you go from there? What's the
One
plan?
step at a time, man. I am so content being a purple belt because there's things I need to learn. Emily is a real good judge of my growth and where I should be, but I will keep competing as much as I possibly can because I enjoy it. It's only going to make me better. I guess you could say my dream is to be a public speaker, motivational kind of thing, if that could happen. And it might happen because December 6th, I'm going to mention a gentleman's name. You might know him, Chad Robichaux. Do you know who Chad Robichaux is? Chad Robichaux is the former Bellator lightweight champion. He's 19-2. He runs the Mighty Oaks in California. They're flying me out, paid trip and everything. So I'm going out to the Mighty Oaks called Serving California. I'm going to be with a bunch of Marines. His service, he did 8 tours in Afghanistan and his prior Marine Force recon. So he heard about me, saw my news articles, called me. I was like, who the hell? He's like, this is Chad Robichaux. I'm like, who's this? Make a long story short, built a great rapport with him, got a great friendship. He rehabilitates Marines, mostly Marines, flying me out to his retreat. We're going to train, and he's mentioned possibly maybe branching out from the West Coast to the East Coast, where maybe I could be part of his team, and maybe try to help change lives using jiu-jitsu, and just being an inspirational, public figure, I guess you could say, whatever. His thing is, though, he does follow Christ. He's a Christian. What I really loved about him is that I told him, I said, listen, I really don't want to come because I'm not a religious person. That's just me. I grew up Roman Catholic and stuff, but I'm not a practicing, I go to church. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I like you. And he's like, he goes, yeah, I'm a holy roller. And he started to put a joke on it. He goes, that's cool. He goes, but I still want to fly you out. I'm like, wow, this guy is really cool because, his foundation's, predicated on that whole thing, and he's still bringing me out. And I said, I just want to make sure that, we don't clash or nothing, because I'm not going to change who I am. Who I am is I'm Robert, and I've been alive for 42 years now, and I've gotten this far on my drive, or you might say my intestinal fortitude, and but I still want to be friends with you. And he's flying me out, and I think it could turn into something good, man. He's doing extremely well. I believe he has 2 schools, Gracie Baja, with like over 1,000 students total. We'll see. But I'm not trying to do any of this for money. I mean, if it eventually later on in life could help me maybe live a better lifestyle because I live on disability, that's great. But all I want to do is just build great relationships and just continue to do what I'm doing and just be an inspiration if I can. I mean, that's all I can do, man. And hopefully this will keep going.
It's amazing.
To get my black belt from Emily would be awesome. Like she's good, man. I tell her sometimes, I'm like, if I go off the handle, just let me know. She's like, I know. And some of the messages she sends me, she's like, well, how come you're in that class? She goes, it's just not the same without Cosmo. And, that makes me feel good because she said, when I come in the room, I light up the room. And I think the reason why I'm like that is because I feel like I'm part of around good people, and I trust them. And for years, I just really didn't trust anybody, and that's part of the PTSD. The bipolar, I really didn't get diagnosed about that till about 2 or 3 years ago, and I was in denial about that because I said, I don't do some of those things. I don't go out and drink and spend money like this. To be like, no, but you do this. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, they're so right. And what's crazy was me and Emily talked once, and we were outside, and she says, I really think you're bipolar. When she said that, I went, oh, fuck. I'm like, I want to tell her, but I can't. Because I didn't come out with my story yet on ABC. You gotta remember, I didn't come out with any of this shit. I'm like, fuck, she nailed me. I'm like, oh shit. Do I tell her right here at this moment, or do I wait? So ABC News and the Jersey Journal contacted me, and then I said, you know what? I kind of only told half the story. And it was more or less to see how I could handle. And now that everything's going to where I want it to go, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to unleash this Tuesday when I have my interview. And I already let Fox know and Ian, and he said, cool, we'll talk. We're going to talk tomorrow at length and how he wants to approach it. So I kind of jumped the gun with you guys on here because, you know, I have to. I mean, you come out Wednesday, so we're fine. But my intent wasn't to release it till Tuesday.
That's cool. I mean, we don't mind delaying a little bit if it conflicts with other,
I just wanted to wait. I'm probably gonna call her tomorrow, or maybe text her tomorrow, and be like, "Hey, I want you to know that I'm gonna be unleashing or letting out a little bit more. You were right," and you called it, and just say, "Hey, yeah, I'm bipolar." On top of that, and because I'm worried about maybe some backlash, I guess you could say, because I'm a student. And I don't know. My professor would be like, if he's bipolar PTSD, I mean, I haven't done anything. I've been here almost 3 years now, but I guess my thing is I'm afraid to be viewed differently, or crazy or whatever, and I'm not. I mean, I went through horrible stuff, and that stuff, you do something to a human, you do something to, like example, you do something to a dog, dogs get put down. Pit bulls. I give an example. You go to, you beat a dog for years, the dog is not going to have the best temperament in the world. It's part of life, And I think I'm doing everything on my end to try to circumvent this and try to do better. And I'm doing good. I mean, I have my moments, but it's not like it was when I was in Tampa. For me to get checked into the hospital, man, I was, man, I don't know how to describe it.
Jeez. I don't know, man. I can't even.
Don't feel that when you say, geez, listen, I'm happy where I'm at now. And the thing is, in the beginning, I'd be like afraid, I'd have women like, you're a good looking dude. How come you're not with a woman? And you know what? There's probably a reason. I don't trust people. Not that I don't get along. Like my ex-girlfriend emailed me, and she's like, texting. She's like, I had no idea because you were so sweet. I'm like, yeah, because I really don't like violence, and I don't. But going to that source and training in that environment helps. Can't explain it. It just does. It just does. I mean, you guys know what it feels like when you have tremendous roles. I wish I could superimpose you inside my body, understand, but sometimes getting to class is rough. But when I get there and I'm around everybody and everybody's smiling, I make them laugh. And I have great roles, and I trust people. I walk out of there feeling good. And I'll give you a talk about when Robin Williams committed suicide. Come on, Robin Williams, dude. Robin Williams, actor, had no telltale signs. Guy killed himself. When I saw that, I'm like, wow. I'm like, I have to keep pressing forward. I have to, because he just let it manifest and kill himself. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean,
hey, I don't think any of us are in a position to I've never been through anything. I'm just listening to your story, man. I find it very interesting. How you're beating it.
I'll give you the one traumatic thing. I'm bringing this up because it's something I want to talk to Ian about. When my mom was having those problems with my stepfather before he shot my other stepfather, when he was beating my mom, I remember him having me in the car with her and, forcing her to his job. He worked at a lumber yard, and he took advantage of my mom and made me wait outside. I mean, I've seen some fucked up shit, man. And when I say take advantage, he basically raped my mother, and they were done. He took her to his job, and I was outside. It was in the dead of winter. And another thing that held me from talking about my story is my family. I had to block my Facebook, all my emails, because I was getting bombarded. Who the fuck are you to bring this up and this and that? You know what? Because the truth hurts. They want to act like nothing ever went down. And I just got fed up. I'm like, I can't hold this back anymore because it's affecting my relationships with people that I interact with all the time. I mean, I've severed relationships. I remember a good friend of mine who I served in the Marine Corps with. I was with him, lived with him for 10 years. He said something one day. I don't know what triggered it. I went in the living room and I knocked him out. I left him in the living room. I went back in the kitchen and started finishing my food. I just got back from the gym. Literally, after I calmed down, I look at my shirt. I had on a white T-shirt or something. It was literally shredded, ripped off of me with scratch marks all over me for him trying to defend himself. I don't remember anything after that. And then his family, I got kicked out of the house because we were living with each other. They disowned me, and now we're friends because I came out with everything. But the thing is, I don't think I could ever have that relationship that I had with him again because I assaulted him. But you just come to a point, you're like, you know what, I need to try to do something right and harness this in the right direction. That's it, man. Like, there's so much. I'm trying to recount everything.
Honestly, man, it's such an inspirational story, and I think that pretty much anybody can relate to it in one way or another. Like I said, even people that haven't been through the things that you've been through, can relate to the fact that when you're not training, you don't feel the same on the mats, or that jiu-jitsu helps to level you out in your life. But you serve to inspire people, not only just everyday people. Like I know that we were sitting here kind of in awe while you were talking, but at the same time, people who have been through the stuff that you've been through, you can definitely they have things to learn from your story. So I just thank you very much for sharing that with us tonight.
Yeah. One last thing, talk about when I went to the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame dinner, and the gentleman who went with me is the boxer who babysat me and fed me when I was in my body cast. He knows everybody. I don't know if you know who Mario Costa is, but I'm just bringing this up because he fought in the 80s at Mario's gym. And I go, do you know Mario? That's Mike Tyson's best friend. Mike's supposed to be here. I want to meet him. I want to tell him about my story. I brought my medals. I got to meet Mike. He goes, Mario. And Mario goes, John. He goes, he knows me. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. So I said to John, I said, man, I want to meet Mike Tyson so bad because, when you read about Mike Tyson's past and stuff, he was abused. He was bullied and stuff like that. And I think that might happen someday, man. And if I can meet him and pass on my story, man, it'll be amazing. My friend Dave built his bike. He made him a custom bike. He goes to me, bro. He goes, I want to tell you something. He goes, you think all that shit you hear about Mike being anti-so? He goes, dude, he wouldn't stop fucking talking. He was talking all day. He wouldn't talk my ear off. I'm like, for real? He goes, dude, he just would not shut up. I'm like, see, because he's a good friggin' man. He just went through a lot of shit, And, hopefully if everything keeps going the way it goes now, I can get on a TV show or something like that, meet Rosie Perez and meet Mike Tyson or something like that and spread my story, that kind of thing, and get on a national level, and then even inspire jiu-jitsu guys, or more people, general people to do jiu-jitsu, because I think I could be a great role model, in certain ways. Yeah, I'm not going to be in the adult division. I'm not Keenan Cornelius. I'm not, Marcelo. But you know what? I could be a 42-year-old pretty decent jiu-jitsu guy and be, help get guys over 40 or even people over 40 years old involved in jiu-jitsu. Because let's be honest, most of the students are younger than that. The attrition rate's pretty high. I can hopefully change that too, because not many people want to go through that, and especially people with mental illness and stuff like that, or have gone through what I went through. And that would be awesome, man. That's all I got to say, is to put a smile on people's faces to see them trying and overcoming. And since my story went viral, I get emails, people opening up to me, and there's at times I literally have to tell them to censor because I can't handle some of the stuff some of these people are telling me, and a lot of them are women. What they've gone through, battered women, and I'm like, please don't tell me too much, because I'm starting to get triggered now. Just let me know that you understand. I really don't want to, you don't have to tell me everything that you went through. It's great, but I'm like, wow, they really confide in me and trust me. But I actually had to tell one woman, I'm like, can you please, if I'm getting upset, because it's upsetting. That kind of thing will trigger me. and I lit like Rocky movies are my favorite movies, and my favorite scene of Rocky, you guys can look it up. It's called the in the basement scene. You know the basement scene? He's like, he goes, "What? You haven't peaked yet?" And he's like, "No, I got stuff going in the basement." That's what I feel like with my life, and what jiu-jitsu has helped me get is get that stuff out, and out of me. Like, it's just like releasing that, and releasing everything. And Tuesday in this podcast is only going to help me out better. And I'm a little nervous that I mentioned the other element, whatever you want to call. But you know what? You want to turn your back on me? Great. Label me whatever. I'm willing to deal with it, because that's what kept me from talking about it or mentioning it, is because of that. You know what I mean? You're like, there's nothing wrong with you. You look physically fit. I'm like, all right, whatever.
I can understand your apprehension, though. Like, I mean, I think mental illness is definitely something that's misunderstood by the majority of people. And like, unless you've experienced it or you know somebody who's gone through that, like, it's impossible to know what somebody's going through.
There's been times when I've been down and I think about my father and I go, holy crap. I'm like, he hung himself. I'm like, I don't think I've never been that close to that. Like, but I'm like, to do something like that, there's something going on. And I'm making it my mission to try to correct that and try to change the general populace, to change that mindset. Because to me, it takes courage to do that. I'm sorry. They say that's weak. I'm like, all right, you put a gun to your head. You do that. Go ahead. Because I've been down, but I'm like, mine's more like manic and being angry and stuff. But I've never been to the point like I'm just going to hang myself with a pair of pants. And I go, and there's times I get mad. I'm like, why did my father do that? It's something I have to carry for the rest of my life. But he had issues. It was uncontrollable. Psychiatric, man. So I can't hate him for that. He had stuff going on that I'll never be able to comprehend because I'm not schizophrenic.
The fact that you've been sort of in the dark about it, and the fact that you're coming out could really help a lot of other people, because I guarantee there's so many other people that are going through the exact same thing, and they feel the same way, like people won't understand and they won't accept them and things like that. So like, if it helps even one more person like come out about it, then that's a good thing.
Well, I appreciate you guys hearing me, but don't ever I know you maybe like a little or whatever, but I'm actually getting used to talking about it more because I go to so much counseling that now I could feel like I can kind of spit it out and it doesn't bother me. Whereas when I first started going to counseling, I'd wind up arguing with her. Like, she was like, I'd waste the whole session trying not to talk about it. Now I just go in open arms, and I think after Tuesday and after this, I think I can really, really push more, because it's hard, man, because I tell you, to get in these newspapers and to get seen, you know how much work was involved. I'm pushing. It was very difficult because people are just like, no one really cares about vets. No one really cares about mental illness. But you know what? I'm doing it, man. And it was hard. It was hard. The guy who gave me a shot, I'm going to let you know about this. My first newspaper, the Jersey Journal, the sports cover, he works for ESPN right now. And I didn't spill the beans, but you know what? Screw it. He's working on a slideshow right now because his brother has issues, okay? He's bipolar. Doesn't have PTSD, but he has bipolar. And he works for ESPN. He's presenting a slide. He's waiting for this to be done, and he's waiting for the Fox News to air to add it into the thing. I might be able to get this in the ESPN publication, man. And he says he thinks he's like a 90% shot because my story, not just about me, but the story in general is so strong that it can carry us a good message for people to just go, wow, we need to look into this. There's probably a lot more people like me walking out the door. It might be even worse. And that's my goal, is to be, what's the word I'm looking for, but to be the guy who came out. Like, I'm taking that step, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in the shadows, and it's okay to come out, man.
Yeah, I think that you'll find too, I think, with your story and things like that, I got to imagine that, you're just going to find more support, by talking about the various, afflictions that you have, with the bipolar. I can't see people being like, taking issue with it. If anything, it's a testament to you and your strength that you're even talking about it. So again, just thank you very much for sharing that with us tonight.
Appreciate it. It's hard, but you know what? I really appreciate it, and it's out. So
That's awesome.
Is there anybody you want to shout out to or thank? Any sponsors or people that have helped you, things like that, before we wrap up?
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't even talk about that. Scramble. You guys know what Scramble is, right?
Absolutely.
I'm going to tell you a quick story. Scramble.
Go ahead.
Scramble martial arts. I'm sponsored by Scramble. So I go to Scramble's website. I see you can send them an email. I send them an email and I go, hey, my name's Cosmo. This is my winnings. Yada yada. This is what I've done. Here's my ABC News clip. And I said, I want to be sponsored. I get a message. He goes, sure, mate. Like, it's funny because I use like the English. He's like, sure, mate. We're gonna send you some bits for your jiu-jitsu journey. And I go, so does that mean I'm sponsored? They're like, yeah, you're sponsored. I'm like, holy shit, dude. To be sponsored, come on, over 42 years old is typically unheard of, bro. All right. I had people, and this is what's messed up. I had people going, dude, how the hell did you get sponsored? You're in the Masters 3 division. I'm like, look, dude, did you read my story? Scramble probably has a heart, okay? They have a little heart, and they'll probably say, this guy loves to compete. We're going to hook this guy and make him part of our team. Yes, I'm not Rodolfo Rivera or any of those guys, okay? I'm Marcelo Garcia, and you don't have to have 15 gold medals and 1 Worlds to be sponsored. I'm a good feel-good story. And they were like, the one guy already goes, oh, I'm sorry, man. He goes, yeah, that was kind of messed up. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know. It was a joke. I mean, I hate to say it was a joke. I mean, they sponsored me, but it was a joke. I sent them a message, and I expected no response, and they said yes, and I'm sponsored by them. So far, I've gotten 3 loads from them, probably about $800 in gear from them, and each one, all my gis, and it's great, man. It's so I want to give my shout out to Scramble, Emily Kwok, my professor, Art, Valerie, Jamie. I have to mess with this guy, Mark, my buddy Mark. I call him Albie Shore because he's always messing with me at my school. And everybody at Princeton Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, my friend John Alvarado, and just everybody who knows me, man. Everybody who knows me, and hopefully this is not going to be too much for people to handle. But this is me, and you're only going to see more on the Fox News clip. So. Being on camera is probably a little bit tougher on a national setting than this, but this right here is helping me for Tuesday.
Yeah, bro, that's awesome. And I just want to give a shout out to VJ. VJ actually got me in touch with you. I didn't really know who you were, but I guess he met you. He travels, so I want to be a little shout out to VJ Hemmenshaw for linking us up together there. Check him out and check him out on episode number 40.
My apologies. You recommended me to him, so I forgot all about you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so shout out to him, and that's it, Adam.
All right, Cosmo, thanks so much for coming on tonight, man.
Thanks, man. Like you said, if you guys want to edit it, fine, because I know we went over the timetable or whatever, but I'm excited to see it or whatever. We're good to go, bro. All right.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an extremely enlightening hour, man. So I really appreciate it, and I wish you the best. And we'll be looking out for you on Fox and ABC.
Thank you very much. Have a great one.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's a wrap.